that bandits are emboldened. They are separate law for separate people. We've said it all, but it's just that everybody is handicapped. We are waiting
Okay.
for the day of June. If things are gonna get better or will remain this way.
Gotcha.
And Nigeria fragile economy, at least let's go back to 2015. The trajectories were positive. We are at least if we had continued with that trajectory till today, I believe that by now maybe we will have become a force to reckon with within the African nation and the Asian tigers.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Well said, fine. I appreciate those comments. Let me quickly take the other gentleman, Makomachi Cheta. Eminat, thank you, fine. Eminat, you got the floor. What's your question for Cheta?
Thank you, Kalu, for having me for this space. I appreciate Cheta for showing up. Um, I, I just want to say something and ask my question. Um, so, for me, for instance, I've got a plantation that has been in my family for 10 generations, I would say. And we produce lots of palm oil and and other things. And recently, we've been having issues with a lot of killings around where I come from. And my my biggest worry is this continuous framing of leaders farmer clashes. And we know how it affects the general economy. I went to school, I became educated, left the country on this plantation. Is there a way to completely get rid of this bullshit farmer headers clash? It's complete bullshit. And it's not going to help our long term food security. Please, how do we get rid of this thing from the space, the Nigerian space? There's nothing like a farmer headers clash. Absolutely nothing like it. The land does not move, so it cannot clash with a header. And this is our home. This is where we've lived for generations. Someone cannot come from Super Jalon and come and lay claim to it. How do we get rid of this
Understand.
nonsense
We're going to get
in our
Cheta to
space?
answer that question.
So,
Where's
yeah,
your
so
plantation?
let's
Where's
me.
your plantation? Just for context, what state is it in?
Sounds like Benue to me. Am I correct? Emmy.
Yeah, around the Enugu, Benue, Kogi exam. My village primarily is in Kogi State.
Oh, okay.
Kogi State. Okay. So we've seen that. So I will point out something that Ifeanyi said when he was speaking, and I think it was unfortunate that Ifeanyi did not ask a question. Um, he said he said, "Alugba for remain ani." It sounds much better in Igbo. For those who are not Igbo, let me translate. When an abomination lasts for more than a season, it becomes culture.
Mm.
And that, unfortunately, is what has happened in Nigeria. So there are so many factors. So I think to respond to Amy, and this is what I'm about to say, you will not necessarily like it. From the point of simple English, the word clash is when two groups, whether one group is massacring the other or not, when two groups collide, when two groups disagree, that's clash. So that's the etymology of the word there. So from a grammatical point of view, farmer header clashes is correct. We should not be dwelling on, so my advice is we should not be dwelling on semantics, because Nigerians do that a lot. We dwell on semantics rather than dwelling on the meat of the problem. So something that we noticed quite often, and we saw this in Benue, we saw this in Kogi, we saw this in Anambra. It was in Plateau that we didn't see much of it. But Benue, Kogi, Anambra, Edo, traditional rulers herders would come, traditional rulers would take money from them and tell them, oh, you can go and graze that land, without telling the farmers that, oh, I have allowed this herder. And this is where cultural conflicts come into play. And it was we pointed this out in at least 2 reports. This is where cultural conflicts come into play. You have a situation where for most of Nigeria south of the Niger, for most of, in short, for almost all of Nigeria south of the Niger-Benue line, because for me, that's our true dividing north and south line. When people talk of what they call it, when people talk of north and include Benue, Kogi, Kwara, it's not really north, but again, that's another discussion entirely. Now, the land tenure mindsets in both regions are different, in both broad regions. So south of the rivers, land tenure is largely vested in the individual. North of the rivers, land tenure is largely vested in traditional rulers. We have, and again, very important, I'm not trying to exonerate any herdsman or anything. I'm just trying to explain some of the misunderstandings. The headman comes with his mindset that, oh, if I meet the traditional ruler, he will tell me where I can go and graze my cattle. The traditional ruler will collect money and will not tell the people. The traditional ruler does not have the right, in reality, to reallocate that land, but he will collect the money anyway and then put it in his back pocket, and then that thing will lead to conflict a year down the line. We documented this in at least 2 occasions. Again, this is not to say that it is the only cause, but it happens. So it's one of the things that we need to look at. Secondly, and this is completely governmental, this is Anno Domini 2025. We can no longer be talking of open grazing. Nigeria has displayed a consistent lack of political will to tackle this system. Agriculture is a business. The people who own these cattle, and many of them, so many of the herders you see on the road do not own the cattle. They are contracted to move the cattle around. There are powerful, rich owners in different places who own those cattle. Those people can buy land, but they just want to have something for nothing. They want the state, they want the government to give them free land so that they can graze their cattle. And because, think of what's happened. So there's, again, back to what I said earlier about the fact that we have a lot of dishonesty in the country. Think of what's happened between the NTP, the NLTP, the National Livestock Transformation Plan, that was put together by the Office of Vice President Osinbajo, and then how that plan was taken and bastardized, and then they gave us this Ruga thing. The Ruga thing only builds into the mistrust that a lot of people feel, a lot of people have. So when you had that, it's even worsened the situation. So something that could have been sorted if we had stuck to the letter of the National Livestock Transformation Plan, the NLTP, something that could have been solved then was destroyed. And now we cannot even go back to that NLTP because the trust levels are at 0. So, Emmy, to answer your question, it's above my pay grade to come up with a to suggest a solution, because this thing has gone from bad to worst. Trust is completely destroyed, it's completely shot. So people will not, as what will normally be taken as common sense solutions will not be looked at by people.
Well, Cheta, let's just to follow up on this question, and I know time is going fast. In the middle belt of Nigeria, if you are let's go using this Trump lens to look at Nigeria. You have the middle belt, you have the predominant.
Sorry to cut you short, Carl.
Yeah, go for it.
There is no Trump lens to look at Nigeria. Trump does not see Nigeria. I think it's important to put that, so that when you are framing your question.
What I mean is,
the brutal fact here is that Nigeria happened to be a convenient political tool for him to achieve local ends. And I think it's important to put that. Again, basically, the US, Nigeria's government has literally given them one of the things that they were looking for since they lost their military base, their drone base in Niger, was a foothold. We have given them that as concession. So they are going to keep quiet on the whole Christian genocide thing for a while.
No,
That's what's going to happen.
The point I'm trying to make is he said it, right? So I'm trying to bring it back to the comments by the gentleman. You have the largely Christian farmers and again, I'm using a very, very broad brush here, largely Muslim cattle headers that are nomadic. That's a flashpoint in Nigeria right now. He has asked a question of how to, he's still being your pay grade. Is that a reading? Is that reading correct that this is an issue of a nomadic set that are of a certain religion and a farmer set that is from a certain religion and they are clashing? So yes, Muslims and Christians are clashing. Is that a way to read this as well?
That would be correct in the Middle Belt, yes.
Just in the Middle Belt, yes. In
the Middle Belt, yes. In the far north, it's not entirely accurate.
Gotcha.
There's in the far north, of course, there are Christian communities that, especially in places like Borno, there are Christian communities that have come under attack because of their Christianity, and it would be remiss of us to forget people like Leah Sharibu. The only reason Leah Sharibu was not released when the Dapchi kidnap happened was because she was Christian. Having said that, again, this boils down to what I talked about, that Nigeria is not a nation, but a country with many nations inside. When you have a basic human behavior, we will always default to people who we think are similar to us. And the most basic dividing line for human beings, in my opinion, is language. So what you have is conflict over dwindling resources. And I'll give a very good illustration. 1961, Nigeria had a national livestock survey. And at the time we had about 18, I think it was 800,000 plus head of cattle. We did another one in 1978, if I'm correct. And by that time, it was 9.8 million head of cattle. Then we did an estimate in 2006, and by this time, it's at top 20 million head of cattle. More cattle to feed, still using outdated methods of feeding them. The whole trekking around the walls of the country looking for where to chop grass. But A, the geographical area of the country has not changed. B, the population of the country has ballooned, which means that the amount of land available to feed has gone down. And this is a problem. This thing is a problem that is repeated not just in the agricultural sector, but in pretty much everything. We have this bad habit of kicking the can down the road until the problem blows up in our face. It happened with fuel subsidy. It happened with devaluation of the currency, where people who think would make incremental changes so that people can adjust one year. In Nigeria, we'll just be waiting and pretending until finally we're too fat for the belt and the whole thing will just bust open. That's what has happened here.
Okay. So because of time, and I have a lot of people to ask you a question, let's just go straight to Raphael. We'll do Raphael, we'll come to Abiodun, and then we'll do Post-Nobel. So Raphael, you've got the floor. Raphael, Abiodun, and Post-Nobel. Raphael, go ahead. Raphael, let's do Post-Nobel.
Does Post-Nobel work for FIRS?
We hope not. Yeah, we hope not. Mr. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
So my question is this, actually. The conflict in the Middle East. Sorry, I said in the Middle East, in the Middle Belt, for instance. Like the pressure attacks by certain communities against Fulani headers, how does it really affect the dynamic of the conflict? And then, or is it just one-sided, or is it they are both parties are actually involved actively? Has there been any reports of that?
Are you asking? I'm not sure I get your question. Are you asking if both sides are in the conflict, or if it's one side? Is that your question?
Yes, yes, exactly. That's my question. I want to understand, like, this endless loop of violence. Is it just one community attacking the other, or there's been an instance of
Interesting.
the communities themselves actually
Cheta, what's your take on that? Is it an attack or is it a
So,
clash? Well, back to that. That's
it,
my
so,
question.
so we're again using we're dealing with semantics. It's a one-sided conflict. That's the way you can describe it if you want to be accurate. So there have been occasions. So, for example, around Langtang in the two states, where the communities got together and basically gave the Fulani a bloody nose. But to a large extent, when you consider places like Agatsu, when you consider places like Yelewata, it has been largely Fulani. Now, I think what is important to point out is many Fulani themselves, and there was a report that we did, and I think this was in 2018, where we actually talked about this. There are many Fulani who had been settled and were living at peace with their communities, with the communities around them. So it is other Fulanis who have come from, as Emmy put it, Emmy from Kogi put it when he was talking, from Futa Jalon, if we are to use that as a reference point. So basically, this thing is quite complicated. There are people who have, for whatever reason, moved from where else they come from, and we've not done anything about it. So in 2022, we published a report about rising insecurity in Kwara. And we actually specifically talked about this, where local Fulani in Kwara were complaining about foreign Fulani who were coming, and this would cause trouble. The report was in February 2020, so it's there about rising insecurity in Kwara. So again, I'm always very wary, because one of the things that Nigeria doesn't do so many things well, but one of the few things that we do very well, and it's very unfortunate, is collective guilt. We have a way as a people, as a country, of, if we are blaming, so if I, Ketachuku, does something, some moron will blame all Igbo people. And as a result of it, all Igbo people will suffer for the actions of I, Ketachuku. It's a problem. And it's something that we need to snap out of, because Fulani people have been killed in Agatu, for example. Muslims have been killed in Agatu. This is in Benue. So we need to, yes, the attackers are largely Muslim and largely of the Fulani ethnicity. But we should also know that there are differences. So within every society, there are differences. And one of the things that we are failing to do consistently is doing the hard work of trying to identify the people that are responsible, people that are behind the violence.
Mm. All right. I think that's a balanced view that sort of captures everything, Cheta. Let's get Abiodun in here, and then Malam was here. He has dropped off. I really want Malam to speak. But Abiodun, you've got the floor.
Okay. Well, thanks for the mic, Kalu. I wanted to ask the gentleman a question, a simple question. Do you think restructuring will solve this insecurity problem in Nigeria?
Define restructuring.
Okay, well, restructuring along regional line.
See, I think that this whole talk of restructuring is very lazy, and it's very dishonest. So let's take the current government. For 20 years that they were in opposition, Tinubu and his manager were in opposition, they always talked about restructuring. Now they're in power, they're not doing restructuring in the way they made us understand it. What is Nigeria's problem? Nigeria's most fundamental problem is rule of law. And as long as you do not have rule of law, it doesn't matter what restructuring you do. you will still come to the same problems. And this year, God being so good, God in his infinite wisdom, gave us the solid example this year of how Nigeria is a country that avoids rule of law. We had Kwam 1 and Kwam 2. Kwam 1 did something very naughty. Because he happens to be Oga Presido's friend, we let him go. Kwam 2 now came and did her own. Not as naughty as what Kwam 1 did, but we came down heavily on her. Luckily for her, it was within a very short time after Kwam 1 did his own. So there was an outcry. What did Nigeria do? Rather than Nigeria using it as an example, even if to call Kwam 1 and say, guy, take one for the team. Let us show that nobody's above the law. Instead, we let Kwam 2 go.
Ambassador.
So what we ended up doing was showing that not all fingers are equal. I will give an example from another country to show you just how silly what we did was. The now former Archbishop of Canterbury in the UK was caught driving, a speed camera caught him driving at 24 miles per hour in a zone that the speed limit was 20 miles per hour. 24 miles per hour, for context, is 36 kilometers per hour or thereabouts. That's about, as in, it's not as fast as Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt was clocked at 40 kilometers per hour. So he was driving slower than how Usain Bolt will run. Yes, the camera caught him. And just because his name was Justin Welbeck, Archbishop of Canterbury, they came down heavy on him. He was taken to court for speed infraction. He was fined £500 for context. Now this £500 is about 1 million naira. He was fined £500 and he was made to attend a speed awareness course. Do you know what that does to people? When they see somebody of that stature in society being shown in front of everybody that nobody is above the law, everybody will conform, everybody will behave. In Nigeria, on the other hand, if I enter a place tomorrow, I can be drinking my alcohol in the knowledge that if they catch me, I will blow my chest and beat my chest and say, oh, do you know who I am? And that, ladies and gentlemen, the single most important problem of Nigeria, because when you do not have rule of law, investors will not come.
Honestly.
When you don't have rule of law, you can't do, as in A cannot lead to B, cannot lead to C. Look at the governor in my home state. And I always say Edo is my home state because that's where I was born and brought up. I will not deny I'm an Igbo man. But look at what is happening in Edo State. Within 2 weeks, Okwebolo has cancelled 2 CFOs just like that. He cancelled the CFO of the Museum of West African Arts because he's trying to beef Godwin Obaseki. Do you know what that singular action did? By cancelling that CFO willy-nilly, and for those of you who know Benin, that museum was located in the place where Old Central Hospital used to be. It is less than a kilometer from Igon Street. Imagine what that thing would have done to the economy of Edo State, to the economy of Benin. If you have all these people that like looking at stuff like that, they come to Benin, they look at the museum pieces and say, oh, this is so nice. Then they will use their 2 left legs and walk out to Igon Street to have replicas made. Imagine what that will do to the economy of Benin. Owepa just woke up like that, cancelled the thing just like that. Then yesterday, he woke up and cancelled CFO of Presco. Just like that. Presco is the largest single employer outside government in Edo State. My guy just woke up and cancelled
PLC.
PLC. I say just woke up and cancelled their CFO. Then this morning, when they realize the damage that action did, they are trying to walk it back. Oh, it's a red herring because what I'm telling you is that the real problem is rule of law. even if we restructure in quotes, as long as you don't have rule of law, you will not solve any of the problems. That's what I'm telling you. So I am answering your question.
Okay, Cheta, just
Okay,
for time.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdul. I have two folks I want to speak, Cheta. I've got Abdul Rahim, I've got Malam. Just for let me have to do speak, and Cheta will sort of
Okay,
round it up.
okay. I have another meeting. So the best I can I've taken an excuse, but the best I can give is 5 minutes. No more.
So two of you, they've both heard you. Let's start with Abdul Rahim. Abraham, go ahead, please. To be very short to the point.
Thank you. All right, good evening, Mr. Kalu. I came up to speak because I just heard the statement that restructuring full of
Is it
law,
red?
that's the problem, without considering the different.
Two ways to trade with Kraken. Whether you're buying crypto instantly on the go or executing precision strategies on Kraken Pro,
enable that
Kraken gives you the
both,
best of both worlds.
economically and whatever.
No matter your
I don't know
style,
if you
Great
Kraken
question.
is
I like
the
the
perfect
question. But
platform.
let me get Malam to have his questions. So Cheta will take two of them, and then that way we go. Malam, go ahead and ask your question. I like that question. Malam, go ahead.
Can you imagine this?
Thank you very much. Quite disagree with
I feel like I'm wondering. These are Anne.
Am I the only one not hearing you?
Oh, I can hear
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, real quick.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm
Ants. See where they came from. See them.
they lack
all
motivation
the way to the stream.
for the need
How they were able to create
technology in fighting this. And I think these are the 4 items that if we do this and we cannot have results, then we can
it by themselves and
option
then work
that
on
we are
the
given.
level. I mean,
But as long as these 4 fundamentals problems are within our security architecture, whatever things we bring out and we do not resolve these problems, the problems will continue going. So that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you, Mr. Kalu.
I'm going to have you answer, and of course, we'll just let you go. Thank you so much. I mean, Abdurrahman's question was very, very. I mean, if you say
Yes, I'll answer Abdurrahman's question, but Madam, first, please, my regards to your baby. Very nice. Now, Abdurrahman, rule of law is something that is consistent throughout. When you're running a unitary state,
la la la